This is the Palm Treo 755p for Sprint. At first glance, you may think to yourself, hey, doesn't that look just like the Treo 750 for Singular that you reviewed a couple months back?
And for the most part, you would be right, until you look very carefully at the soft keys around the navigation cluster. They're slightly different. That's because the 755 runs Palm OS, not Windows Mobile. However, the rest of the phone has exactly the same form factor. It still has the same QWERTY keyboard. On the left side, there are volume keys and a soft key. On the right side is a mini SD slot and an IR port. On the top is the switch to shut off the ringer manually. And on the back is a 1.3 megapixel camera, the loudspeaker, the battery cover, and a stylus. You can see, just like on the Treo 750, there's no external antenna. And just like on the 750, the 755 gets excellent reception. Such good reception that we wondered, did the 700 really need an external antenna? If so, they must have really reworked the insides to get this kind of quality. Using the Palm OS is a bit different than using any other phone, or smartphone for that matter. Because the Palm OS is an old handheld OS, it doesn't really have a home screen, a status screen like you're used to. This is the closest thing it has to one, which is the phone dialer screen you get to by pressing this phone icon. Here you'll get to see icons about incoming texts, missed calls, that sort of thing, as well as quickly access a couple of your functions. You also have this on-screen dialer in case you don't want to use the hard keys. If you want this to look more like your standard home screen, then you can change that in the options. However, as you can see, there's no obvious way to get to the options. In the Palm OS, the options menu is reached either by tapping in the top left corner or by hitting the menu key down here. If we go over to the options, there's display options that will let us set a wallpaper. You can see that you have to tap the screen a lot. Either that or you have to use the blue glow here and the D-pad to navigate around. It's not really optimized for non-screen use. And now, instead of a dialer, we get a small picture, but we can still dial a telephone number or bring up the dialer by hitting the number keys down here. We can even go one step further, and we can also change it so that instead of dialing numbers when you hit the keyboard, you can do a contact search. So it will work a lot like Windows Mobile does, where if you start dialing in a name from the home screen, it'll look through your contacts. Since there is no home screen, alerts that come in, like for messages or missed calls, are first displayed full screen and won't let you do anything until you acknowledge them. If we go to the message, the 755p has the threaded messenger, just like on the 750 or like Apple has showed off on the iPhone. It displays your text in a conversation, kind of like an IM, instead of one at a time, and then groups conversations by person. It's actually very nice to use. We actually preferred this type of messenger to the inbox style, where it just displays all of the messages in a list. Palm OS is pretty simple and only lets you do one thing at a time. To switch between applications, use the home key, which doesn't take you to a home screen but a list of all the available applications. Like we said, you can also use the phone key to get to that phone screen. There's a shortcut to the calendar and to the message center that we just showed you. From the phone, we can show you what the web browser looks like. Palm uses the Blazor web browser, which uses a server back at Palm headquarters to reformat web pages for the smaller screen and for Palm's low-power OS. Starting the web browser is one of the things that takes the longest. If you haven't been in a data session recently, first it has to sign on, and then it needs to load the page through Palm's proxy and then into your phone. Even though this has EVDO data, this can take quite a while. Although the Palm OS is rather simple, the applications are still relatively capable. It's got a very strong contact application, a good calendar application. It's even got a reasonably decent camera. It doesn't take too long to start up, is easy to use, and works fairly well. Although I'll warn you that in the dark it doesn't take very good pictures at all. One of the benefits of this simple OS is that once you start learning it, it is pretty easy to use, although the lack of a home screen and the fact that the options are hidden tends to be a pretty big road bump for most people when they first get started. The other thing is that it's very low power. You can see that after using this for 4 days on a single charge, we still have a decent amount of battery life left. The Palm OS is definitely showing its age. But after using the 755p for a week, we can understand why it has such loyal fans.